Welcome to Cultured Unplugged, where the silence ends. I'm Uncle Chris, the host of the show, and on this channel, we uncover the real stories of hazing that schools and organizations would rather bury. So if you stand with us in the fight against hazing and to protect students and hold organizations accountable, then hit the subscribe button and like this video and turn on the notifications bell, because here we give survivors and the families a voice that they were denied, and we shine a light on what hazing has stolen from far too many, including my own family. Tonight's story is all revolving around the Southern University again in the limelight. This time we're talking about Phi Alpha Incorporated. So let me just start off and say this is no defamation intended. This is just to take what's been reported and discuss it as it's been reported from the news directly. So I have my own opinions about how I feel this has happened round two again, or actually many rounds, because hazing has occurred at this particular university in the past, most recently with the Caleb Wilson case. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you stick around for the entire video. This is where the silence ends. All right, so tonight we are looking at a story that is unfolding out of Southern University. This is down in Baton Rouge, a place rich in tradition, excellence, and the history, but right now facing another painful truth. The university has suspended the Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated after new allegations of hazing surfaced. The news broke through WAFB's I-Team report, and they confirmed that the school launched a full investigation following an incident that allegedly took place earlier this semester. I'm deeply troubled, by the way, by this. But while the details remain limited, the implications, of course, is massive. They are massive. So because when hazing reappears, as we know, at a schools that's already seen tragedy, it's not just a policy issue. It's a warning sign that we've ignored before. And I don't know how many of these videos that I have to make or many others have to make to continuously get it through as many young people as possible, organizations as possible, institutions, right? When there's tougher hazing policies and laws preventing hazing in the state that it's happening in, for everybody to be on board and understand that hazing is a dangerous precedence for everybody. So according to the report, Southern University suspended the Baton Rouge chapter of Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated after credible allegations of hazing reached campus officials. In a public statement, the university said that the fraternity was placed on interim suspension, which it should, pending a full investigation. So that means the no activities, the strolling, none of the parties, none of that stuff, no recruitment, no on-campus or off-campus events under the fraternity name. So basically cease and desist at this point for the organization on campus. So I'm really curious to see what details are going to be revealed to us. I'm going to be looking to keep up and find out what is going on. There's so many things happening around the country around hazing. Not with just Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Let me just put that out there. But I still have to report, especially on these cases, because there is a slew of them, and this is just one of many at this point. But the university is also cooperating with the Phi Alpha national headquarters, which confirmed that they are conducting their own independent review. But here's where it gets serious. Southern University isn't new to hazing scandals, so as you already remember with the Caleb Wilson case, not by a long shot. So earlier this year, the university investigated multiple student organizations, for hazing-related behavior. And before that, of course, as you know, Caleb Wilson is the center of it all, really. But a young man who lost his life in an alleged hazing incident, the same university, the same culture of secrecy. What's going on? Why are we finding that these cases are continuously happening to our young people? But it's those who continuously to drive that measure of activity. This must be done. It's like so embarrassing, in my opinion. It's like you got a young man that literally lost his life out of the same school, right? And then for their parents to see that, wait a minute here, It's another organization that literally like laughed in the face of Caleb Wilson at this point, laughed at his demise by continuously being a part of the same practice, carrying on the same tradition, the same culture of abuse, the same cover up. So when the news broke out that another organization at Southern University at this current time is under investigation, it raises a painful question. Do we learn nothing from Caleb Wilson's death? Isn't there any type of self-regard, self-discernment? Or, where did we go wrong? How did this happen? Like, how did the school, university felt that, we're going to, whatever due diligence wasn't occurred, didn't happen. I'm just trying to understand, because this is where it becomes a problem. We've got to step in even more aggressively as a community and coalition and demand answers. And I'm sure that chapter at this point, if it does come out that, again, that the hazing allegations are concrete and they're set, then they all too would probably risk losing the chapter on that campus. Somebody said in the comments it was about a conspiracy against BGLOs. I don't agree with that. I agree that if you do any kind of harm, and you're knowingly, especially at the same school, that's like adding salt to injury. It's something you just don't do, because again, looking at where the case is, what has already happened at that school, why would you even have anything close to hazing? I would say, completely change the dynamics of having anti-hazing training and all that stuff. It's like none of that stuff mattered in this case. So I'm deeply troubled by this, y'all. So let's be honest here. Hazing at Southern University has the deep roots, okay? It goes even farther past the Greek-led organizations, because it's also been reported that the marching band, the Human Jukebox as well, took part in hazing. But again, it goes farther than that. But the stories go back to decades. So whispered through the dorms, off-campus houses, and the lying practices that go far beyond what the founders of these organizations really ever imagined. So essentially the Max Groover Act was passed in that state, so making hazing a felony. Okay. It requires all freshmen, athletes, and student organizations and members to complete hazing prevention training before participating in campus groups. That law was really meant to stop cases like this from happening again. But here we are, a year later, another suspension, another investigation, another chance to ask the same question. Why, of course, does this keep happening? Phi Alpha is one of the most respected, let me just say, Black Greek-led organizations in the history. Founded in 1906, it has produced some of our most powerful voices, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall, W.B. Du Bois among them. But what happens when an organization that preaches the scholarship, manly deeds, and love for all mankind becomes associated with something so damaging? So opposite to its ideals as hazing. So we often hear brothers say, that's not who we are. We are a non-hazing fraternity. And I believe them. I really do, because I'm sure it's not who they are. But when even one chapter crosses the line, it stains the legacy of all who wear those letters with pride. The real question isn't just about whether hazing happened, okay? It's why it still can. Why, despite the national bans, the education that's being widely put out there, the law, anti-hazing, Stop Campus Hazing law that was passed, right? The Stop Campus Hazing Act, right? So I'm just at a loss. Like, I'm sure many of you are wondering, why would this happen again? Why, even after all those different things and the tragedies, young men still feel pressure to earn their brotherhood through pain and silence? Because it's that understanding of that culture, that ideology. It's so deeply ingrained into many families. Many, of course, if you're trying to join Phi Alpha, you have a lot of legacy members, people who felt like it's the only way to get in or be a part of it is to go through this, and that's the part that we've got to shake as a community, as a culture. College life, even if an HBCU life, does not need to be required to have putting yourself through these kind of great lengths of harm that could risk your life, risk someone else's life that you're joining with, right? So these are the things. It's like, come on now, like those things can be broken. Culture, like those things that part of that culture can totally be, redone completely, renovated, if you want to call it that. But there are gonna be consequences for those actions when you deliberately take them and you're messing with people's kids. That is the problem I have. When you're messing with someone's kid life, their harm, and even if you're the person you're saying, hey, I want to be in this, I want to actually do this, then again, you're putting so much people at harm, at risk, you don't even realize. If these allegations are confirmed, so those responsible could face serious charges under Louisiana law, including criminal hazing, which carries the fines and potential jail time. But beyond the legal consequences here, let's talk about the emotional toll. Hazing doesn't just leave the bruises or the broken bones. It leaves psychological scars, which we talked about in the recent video that I posted about Pastor Pat. And we talked about Pastor Pat, how it really deeply affected her. Even to this day, that grief doesn't go away. I talked about it on the Miss Scramble and Lamoury's story. Lamoury committed self-cide, due to the isolation, the psychological pain, the weight of it. Jordan Hankins, another story that I talked about. So many of these stories keep on coming up, and young people are being affected, and psychologically it leaves that humiliation, that fear, that trauma that shape how someone sees themselves for the rest of their life. It's not something that just goes away magically, even after 4 years when you're in college. Stuff holds on to you even years later. Many survivors, like including myself, I'm a survivor of hazing myself. I still feel that weight of what that went through. And it's not a day where I don't reflect on it. I wear a physical scar from it as well, as you've seen. But of course, the survivors of hazing, they never really talk about it. They move on, they graduate, smile in the photos, and bury the pain under the pride of the letters that they earned. Let me just stop right now to say, if you yourself still feels that weight of that pain that you experience, some level of hazing, you're not alone. You're listening to someone who's gone through that pain, who still feels that pain till this day. If you want to be able to share your story with us, make sure you email us at coveredandcultured@gmail.com. We want to help discuss your story and see if we can help make an impact to help end hazing. But more importantly, the silence of itself doesn't heal. It festers. And for every person who says that's just not how we do it, there's another sitting in a therapist's office years later trying to undo that damage, the weight of that. People tend to not really want to talk about that openly because sometimes it's just too painful. But now I want you to really think about it here. Louisiana just passed a landmark anti-hazing law after also death after Caleb Wilson. It's a university student whose life ended before it really began. So now we have another investigation at the same institution involving another fraternity. That's not coincidence. That's culture, a culture that says loyalty means silence, that bonding means obedience, that pain means proof of worth. But the truth is, that's not love. That's control. Okay. And until the universities itself and national organizations start treating hazing not as a tradition gone too far, but as organized abuse, it's going to keep happening. I'm going to share this with you. I'm not going to name the organization that I heard of, but this is something that came across my attention. I have a friend of mine, I'll just say a friend of mine, who was involved in a event involving a couple of different Greek life organizations. And what happened was, this is also, I think, out of Howard University. But what happened was the program was domestic violence, was in support of that. That was the event and drive towards, was to help end domestic violence. And I've seen that many times as far as a known outreach program or community program to get behind. And I just like to see us as if we're representing, equality, I should say, right? When it comes down to community help or community passions and volunteerism, that we also focus on those who have been harmed, and not exclude hazing victims, because hazing victims and domestic violence victims really, a lot of times, to me, they have very similar backgrounds, similar storylines, similar, they share the same parallels, to be honest with you. What's so different? You have someone who's been battered, someone who's been promised that they're loved and they're cared for and they're welcomed in this new family. And do you see where I'm going with this, right? It's like oxymoron. Like, you want to support one organized type of initiative, but then when we talk about hazing, then it's like, wait a minute, too much. We don't want to talk about it. You see what I'm going with this? So here's what I want to know. How many warnings did the university receive before this latest suspension? Was there any others? Right? And I'm sure, like I said, they're taking action, they're doing all those things, but is it reactionary or is it preventative at this point? Were there previous complaints that were ignored or quietly handled? And if this is the part of a larger trend, then what's being done to actually stop it, not just punish it? And here's the bigger question for members inside these organizations here. If you truly love your fraternity, and I mean no disrespect, but I gotta be real, why would you risk destroying it for the sake of hazing? The image, the prestige, right? Love shouldn't hurt. Brotherhood shouldn't break you. I hear that often. This is to break you down and build you up. Nonsense. You don't need anyone to beat you down, change who you are, to make you into something else. I find strong issues with that. But at Southern, Greek life is a major part of the culture. These organizations raise leaders, the scholars, and the community builders, people who are in office and such, right? People who are in business. So when one chapter fails, it affects the entire campus. It reveres even beyond that. But this also can be a teaching moment. If this investigation leads to real accountability here, if the chapter uses this to rebuild with the integrity, then maybe, just maybe, something good can come from this. Because redemption isn't just possible here, it's necessary. So here's what I'll say. Whether it's Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, or any other organization, we have to start protecting the people more than the letters. We have to start thinking about, no matter if they are a member or not, you are taking something from someone, right? This is not someone where, hazing isn't just something where it's just happened, to me, and that's it. Like, everyone in this case, like I said, can be affected and can be a victim in this case. The perpetrators from it, the people who are taking it on, just because someone says, hey, this is what I want to happen to me, just because someone is a pledge and says, I want this experience, it does not mean it escapes liability from anyone. That's just not how it works, okay? Every student deserves to leave campus alive. Young people deserve to have that moment with their parents, to see them walk across that stage, to be proud that they actually joined, this elite school that they always wanted to go to, not being traumatized by their experience from joining an organization on campus. So Southern University has an opportunity here to show the country really what true accountability looks like. And for the Brothers of Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, this is your moment to reclaim your legacy by condemning what doesn't align with your mission. I would expect that National comes out and says, that they actually own up and say, hey, what can we do? How did this happen? And fully investigate. I'm sure they're probably doing it, but for them to come out and make a statement, because the measure of a man isn't how much he can take, it's how much truth he can stand in. So I'm Uncle Chris, and this is Cultured Unplugged, where the silence ends. Let's keep watching the headlines on this case. Let's keep asking the questions, making sure that this school, Southern University, is being held accountable, making sure that they're doing their due diligence. And let's make sure no one else has to suffer for the sake of belonging here. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Do you think that this has just been one rogue case after the next? What do you think the school's position should go with next on this case? So anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing reading what you have to say. This is where silence ends. Good night.